caller will do something that may be just a little bit different, but quite fun and funky that other callers may not have thought of. So it's how we learn is by giving each other and sharing material instead of holding everything close to the chest. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the top of the hour. We are getting ready to start. So as always, I want to say thank you to Mark Hart. Mark is up there, the top left-hand side of my screen. Give us a wave, Mark, so we know who you are. Mark is my co-host. He looks after all the technical applications, all the recording, and he also posts all of the sessions up on the OC Callers website, as well as all the material that is available. And we've had a lot of people asking for a lot of this material. So thank you very much, Mark, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are very, very pleased to have Reinhold Roedig with us. As most of you know, he's a very hard man to find any information on as far as background and everything else. But from what I found out and a little bit this morning, he's now hailing from South Carolina. But as you can tell, he's from Ohio by his accent.
Yeah.
He is a square dance caller, square dancer, Color Lab member, does everything from party dances, community dances, programs, mixers, contras, youth groups, right up through plus, I believe, maybe higher, I'm not sure. As well as why he's here today, which is being the creator, genius, and designer behind this very popular program of Callarama. Callarama has been around since 2004, and it's one of the more popular programs, mainly due to its flexibility. The flexibility of a lot of the arrangements. It's also got the voice interaction interface, which basically means you can call and talk to the program once it gets used to your accent and watch the dancers move in 3D. A lot of callers like it, mainly for that feature in particular. So Reinhold is here to talk to us about Callarama, to go over some of the features. He has also graciously given everybody access on his website. There's a link there called Friends of Mel, which he put up. I don't know why he called it that, but it's for this session with a 3-month download free trial of the full program. So put your hands together and welcome Reinhold Roedig. Give us a wave, Reinhold, so we all know where you are.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
And do you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Here you see beautiful Guatemala Island, South Carolina at night in the background. So, okay. Good afternoon and good morning down under, as I should say. I was looking at these dolls here, and aren't they precious? I would have so much like to find one of those sets on eBay, but probably no luck. It must be a collector's item. They remind us older callers, and I am old, and I started calling in 1982 in Germany, of when we began. I actually robbed my little daughter of 4 cubes and 4 drums from her building blocks and painted them, numbered them, and I did push them around. Now, some even today say we should stay with those checkers and learn calls by the physical touch of them. This makes a valid point, even though I doubt that those advocating it follow their own advice, which leads me to Callarama. Thank you for letting me talk about it in this forum. I have provided slides that you can download from the website, either the Callarama website or from this meeting's website. And I'm using them here to follow around. When I see experienced callers like on Caller Lab, where I used to have a little stand and demonstrate my software, I notice they are not very interested in my program. And why? Of course, they already have everything in their heads, but also they don't have the time to bother with something like this. At least they didn't in years ago. This year, unfortunately, it may be a little different. And there's one very valid argument against using checker software. It can be a danger to beginning callers. Here I want to quote Jim Mayo. He wrote a paper about software for callers. And it's very interesting, and I had to make an excerpt, just pick out the main sentences. So quoting Jim Mayo, he says, "I learned to call back in the dark ages. We had to learn what each call did to the arrangement of the dancers. J. King devised a method of drawing diagrams to help us understand. Today's callers have a much easier way to practice. The program that I have used for this is Callarama. Any of these programs can be an extremely valuable learning tool if you use them properly. To get the most benefit from these computer programs, a caller must resist the temptation to push the enter key before he or she has tried to visualize what the ending formation and arrangement will be." Very important. With the computer and with self-control, you don't have to draw diagrams. You can select the call, visualize the ending position, then and only then push enter to see whether you were correct. If you use this tool correctly, it's a wonderful way to learn one of calling's most essential skills without the need to have real dancers to practice with. This is what Jim Mayo in essence said to this problem. Now, why using Callarama? I'm making the point that there is no other software that offers all of these things here. We actually do have a manual checker mover available in Callarama. I will now open my Callarama here, and it should have appeared. You can go to Tools, Start Checker Mover, and you get this little tool here, which can be used without the big window, totally independent, and where, if you wish to, you can move your dancers around any way you want. The advantage is you can click here and memorize where they were, which makes it much more convenient than your wooden dolls, because they remember to go back into their place, and you can also bring them home. Here, you can even use move them asymmetrically if you are inclined to. So there is a checker mover, and anybody can use this tool totally free. Just download Callarama and you have it. Don't have to pay for it. So there's a checker mover. This software is animated, and the timing is very accurate. You get exactly the number of beats per minute that is indicated here. You can play a record to it, set it to the record's BPM, and check it. It's absolutely correct in a wide range of speeds. You can have your dancers as checkers, or you can have them in 3D, and you will now notice that I modeled my dancers after the checker set that I showed initially, because I liked the way that this is abstract. It has just enough information to discern men and ladies, but not more, which is important to me because it doesn't distract. If there were real dancers, I think it would be distracting in this small picture at least. And you can change the view here, by the way. So let's reset it here. Callarama has speech recognition that is not just your Windows desktop recognition. It's has its own vocabulary consisting only of the calls and commands that you need, and that has big advantages. The sequencing of calls is what I call unlimited, in that you can go anywhere here and recreate where you have been, which other software doesn't really do. I mean, I don't think terminations can do this because they don't store the phasor at each point here. You have to go from the beginning and through all the calls. Here you can go anywhere and find the place, and then you can give another call from here, like type in bend the line, and then the rest disappears and you can continue with something else or come back and recreate your routine here. So this is what I call unlimited sequencing of calls and modifying routines by inserting modules. We come to this later. Callarama also has more modes. I need to switch from this. This is what you get when you download it. It's sort of a reduced feature window because to people new to Callarama, the full featured one looks a bit complicated and daunted, I found. If you want to do more advanced features, you have to switch to one of those, like you can have this one which still looks familiar, but has the features I want to show you now briefly, meaning you can do two couples, you can close it again, you can do a rectangle of 12 dancers, you can do asymmetric squares. Going back here, I'm still just going through the points here. It has a manual mode, meaning when a call is not there, you can move your dancers like in the checker mover by hand and overcome this difficulty, even though it will not be animated then. There are many ways to save and organize and print your material. And now I'm speaking to experienced callers. As a coach, you can use it for presentation, even just to explain formations, phasor and so on. Not even for calling, but just for the basics of understanding choreography and the mechanics of the square. You are free to use these. You can copy the dance window. You can open another, no, not here, another window here that you can put on your PowerPoint or your screen and have like the 3D here and the checkers here that I've shown. And a feature that works but maybe need some more attention is you can remotely connect with other callers and make their Callaramas do what yours does and vice versa. I come to this if I have a minute left at the end of the hour and show you how. So now what is the downside of using Callarama? We experienced it before we started here in the pre-session. It may be a little difficult to install it because Windows Defender and antivirus programs make it a little difficult to find the way around. I cannot help it. The other thing is it runs only on a Windows system. So if you are a Mac person, you will need an emulator. And the calling repertoire, because this is animated software, ends at A2. I'm not in a position to do more because I'm not even an A caller, hardly an A dancer, and I couldn't do C calls, and it would be so many and so many formations, it would overwhelm me. That could only be done in a crowdsourced operation probably. But within these constraints, what is good, you install it once, and anytime if you have activated auto, there's a thing here, a little check mark, make sure it's activated when you start your Callarama and you are connected to the internet. It will check for an update and point you to it, because when I'm busy with it, I make frequent updates with new calls and correcting errors and so on. Also, when you have downloaded it, Callarama is free and fully functionable with everything, except you cannot save your material, and you will see only up to the last 8 calls in this list here. There must be something to motivate to purchase a license, but once you have paid, it's pay once and have it for life. Also, if you are a caller coach, whether accredited or recognized by me as a caller coach, you can have it for free. Now we go through some basic features that you should know before you use it. I pointed out the layouts. There is also a mini layout which can fit on a smaller tablet and is operated only by voice. There are no call selectors here. More importantly, I recommend this layout. This I call label layout, because your calls are not in a list, which can be very, very long and where you have to scroll down. They're arranged here geographically in teaching order, like this is a basic group, the mainstream group, the plus group, and if you want the A calls, then you need a little more space, and they come up here. Right now I'm not using them. And a call that is directly available for these active dancers here is indicated in white with a white background. Whereas if you select heads, there are some calls that are only available for all dancers, and you can use them, but the pink color signifies that the active dancers will change when you use this call, like you do Alamo style. It's obviously for all dancers. So the software is intelligent enough to assume that you want it to be done not by the heads, but by all dancers. So this is the advantage of label mode, which I recommend and will keep using throughout this demonstration. I explained you can have your dancers as checkers or in 3D. Another important preference is here. You get a window where you would change the appearance of your dancers. Clicking through here, you get combinations of colors, all possible. You can also move your head dancers around here. If you call the other white label here, if you click default, you go back to the one you have saved. If you are a beginning caller, I would recommend doing this. Use 2 couples, take away the numbers. This is how you look at your dancers. You need to memorize 2 pairs, and you need to memorize the corner relation, and that's what you have here. There are many more ways here, also no gender depictions that present more difficulty, but can have their use. And if you are done back, then you would use this one here, because you need to watch only one man and you know exactly where the other 7 people are at any time. Now, I'm not done back. When I began, I adopted some of his methods, but only the more basic ones. I never advanced to the full power of his approach. I pointed out here you select the calls you want to use. And I'm coming now to voice. To start voice, you click here, but I don't do it because it will interfere with my speakers here, and then you will see weird things happen because what I'm saying will be interpreted, misinterpreted as a call. And it understands my German accent not very well anyway. I come to this later. But what is important with voice, please read the instructions in help, at least the introductions. Here, I want to deviate a little and tell you something about myself, something that Mel couldn't tell you. I started calling in 1982 in Germany in a small town because I had met my wife, who is American, from Cleveland in Munich, and she dragged me to a square dance. From the beginning, we had a cultural war between US culture and German culture. So she wanted me to enjoy US culture. She dragged me to a square dance class by a very good caller, Ruedig. And I was shocked. I was a hippie at the time with shoulder long hair. And I came into a room where people were milling around in petticoats and cowboy boots. And I said, what is this? What do I have to do here? But after a few evenings, I got it. And I realized this is an exercise for body and mind. So I got hooked. Then we moved to a small town, and my wife said, there's no square dancing here. We will need to found a club. So we founded a club, and we had a club, but no caller. A caller came from Nuremberg, but it didn't work out really well. So a buddy and me began calling, and that's how I started. Now at this time, calling in Germany was either by stars callers from the American bases or traveling from the US, or it was by German callers. And German callers had often didn't speak English, and they didn't need to speak English because teaching is in German, only the calls are English. And the dancers, many of them didn't speak English, understand English anyway. So when I came to a neighboring town, I had a certain advantage because having an American wife and children who grew up bilingual, my English was a little better than usually. There was a caller, a good one, I couldn't understand him. When he wanted us to pass through, has anybody understood pass through? No, Mel has. I heard bathroom. I heard bathroom. I didn't know what to do. When he said pass through, I heard bathroom. After a while, I realized, yes, he said bathroom. This leads me to, after this long deviation, to this here.
Callarama voice 2 has been started.
When you use voice.
1 second, Reinhold. I'm going to interrupt you for a second, if I may.
Yeah.
Okay. A few people have commented that you're working on your screen. You can see it on your screen, but not everybody has a big screen like you. So can you maximize the window that you're working on?
Oh, yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
And I understand the bathroom and the language barrier because I started calling in 1981 in Lahr, Germany.
I will not maximize the I will select the Callarama window, so I don't have to maximize it, because otherwise I cannot see everything I want to see. So this works now?
Yes.
When you use voice, it works out of the box. But to use it really efficiently, you need to know how it works. So coming to pass through, you need to know that every call is listed here in the vocabulary. I select pass through. You can select it, now it's here. And if there is a problem with understanding it, if your dancers, if you are this German caller and your dancers don't understand it, number one, try to speak more distinctly so they do understand it. Number two, if this doesn't work, put in bathroom. You put it in here, you save it, and next time you say bathroom, your speech recognition will recognize it as the call pass through. So please read the instructions on help on voice so that you are aware of what is pre-programmed and understood and what is not. Because there are often you can put in up to 6 alternatives to a call if you use it in a different style and so on. An example is square through. Some say square through 4, you can say square through. You can say put it many other ways, and some of them are already programmed here. But you can customize it to your, don't change the bathroom. Now this bathroom, to complete my bio as a caller, haunted me to Cleveland. My wife was very homesick, and in 1998 I got a chance to retire, see how they dance to my speaking. I must move this here. And I came to Cleveland thinking that now I have free time, I become a full-fledged caller in America. This didn't work out because in Cleveland, dancers were mostly old. Many had hearing aids, and they didn't understand bathroom. And they were not ready to adapt to my accent, so I was very discouraged, and that's why I became a one-night stand or community dance caller. And I had fun doing it for schools and street parties and private parties and so on. But it didn't challenge me, so I started developing a software in order not to throw my knowledge of choreography away. So this was a long deviation into my bio. What you need to know is in this software, different from others, from terminations and all others, you always need 2 components to a call. You need who does it, which is determined here, and what do they, which is determined here. So in voice, you would say heads, and it selects this, and then you would say ladies chain, and it would select this. It's comprised of these 2 components, heads and ladies chain. And after this, it would do calls for heads, unless it's a call that can only be done by all. In this case, it was like Hello style, automatically change back to all. So with this in mind, you should be able to use it. The next thing is, there are 4 ways, you will see it on my slides, number 8, to give a call. Number 1, in list mode, select it from the list here, just click on it, ladies chain 1/4. Not as effective as I believe is label mode, because you can select it here, where you see it's there, it's available, ladies chain 1/4. Better, you learn the shortcuts and type in ladies chain 1/4, and it's what should have done it. LC 1/4, and it will do it. So other way, number 4, is using voice. We have touched on this. Now you know how to call. When you call, to make it easier, I will select something here from the samples to show you. There's a nice long pattern call here that I extracted from, let's go here back to the normal numbers. from the pattern record Cynthia. It's a nice pattern, series of pattern calls, including even some asymmetric stuff. So whatever you call will be recorded here. And when you go somewhere, you can examine it here. I just added a new feature here. There's a little arrow. You won't have it yet, but it will be soon available to you. That automatically jumps to the next call. So you can continue examining from here without jumping down to these controls. And also, when you go back, you can jump to the previous call. So this is a good way to observe the flow in your call and the transition to the next call. But also you can, from here, deviate to another series of calls. If you call anything after this, instead of coordinate, you call touch a quarter. Yeah, I must activate my window.
How about hinge?
Oh no, hinge, of course, hinge, not touch a quarter. So now the rest of your routine is gone and you continue with your single hinge. If you made a mistake, click here and you get your previous routine back, and two other versions that have existed previously. So this is the redo button. So,
Reinhold?
Yeah.
Just been asked, not everybody's computer refreshes as fast as yours. So when you move your mouse, can you move it a little bit slower? Because when you flash it across the screen up and down, it just disappears on some screens.
I apologize. I should have thought of it. So these routines then can be saved and called up again. Because this is an interactive list of calls, it's not just a list of text. You cannot paste text of a call into this, like you can in terminations, because what you see here is just the face of it. There's code behind that tells the software where the dancers are at this point. But I had several suggestions lately from Mel to enable this feature, and I can show you how it will work in your next upgrade. I've actually worked on this, and in this window where you save your routines and where you can categorize them with tags and categorize what call program they are here, Mainstream Plus, what types they are, whether they are a routine, a singing call, an opener, or a two-couple routine, and so on. You can do much more here. Read help. What you can do here is there will be a little button. I must bring it up. Sorry for once. Go into secret mode here. Then you have a little button here that says read. And now we can take a text. I have one here. That's from Jeff Priest's two-couple sequences that he just contributed. You click start here and it transposes this into a series of Callarama calls. And it didn't understand the last one because he said, you are home. It searches for any call that has home in it and you select home, double click here, and now you have the whole sequence. And if you go here into two-couple mode, which it is, you can click record. And now your whole sequence will be recorded here. This takes so much time. Let's do it faster. And after this, you can save it and use it the usual way. So this will resolve this problem. And we can go back to normal mode and continue with our introduction. The next thing I want to point out is what I call the phasor monitor. This thing, if you click this arrow here, gives you the total state of the square at any time. Let's say we call up a random formation. Let's do something, yeah, like this. That's a random formation that I picked, got by clicking here. So can anybody tell me, are the boys in sequence? Are the girls in sequence? There are 1, 2, 3, 4. No, they are not in sequence. The boys are not in sequence. So when I go here, I want to examine this. It says girls are out of sequence, boys are in sequence, that's true. And the head boys are with right-hand lady, which is true. So you see how this examinator here gives you the total phasor of the square. And that can be used as an instructional tool.
Boy, does this guy get old looking.
Are you seeing it? Or? Yeah.
What?
This guy's talking.
Yeah,
Reinhold, he's
Yeah.
the one that made this program.
yeah.
I met him with 10 years.
Okay, I continue and we will have questions later on. So be aware that you can use this tool. You can also select any formation that exists here to start with, and then you can modify it by saying, but I don't want to start like this. I want to start head boys with opposite. Head boys with opposites, then it looks like this. So you can start anywhere. Next thing. Working with modules. I want to give you a few examples of what you can do with modules here. Let's take this away and let's make it smaller. Let's make this smaller. I will load singing call from here. So in any sequence, at any point, almost any point, you can insert a module. Why did I provide this feature? Not for you to select modules that I offer you and then blindly put them into your sequence to read out to your dancers. It's to make you study modules, develop your own, and save them as modules, then use them in the way I show you here. So let's see what can we find here. I will go through this routine from the beginning. A little faster than usual. All ping pong circulate. Extend the tag. So can we use a module from here? Does anybody has a module that works from here? Probably not right away because modules are usually from boxes or lines.
Swing through, spin the top, slide through.
But here, the way I have set it up, you click here, you get a list of modules. It says no, but it will find them in my sample list. And now to confuse you, I show you modules for 0 box. That's a 0, that's a modules for box. That's a module for a box, which is a 0. I put them in as samples. They are mostly from Campbell's book. And thank you, Cal, for letting me present them here. From his book, all about modules, because I needed a big collection of them. You can click here. You see what the module contains. All pass to the center. Centers pass through, right and left through via left. Boys circulate, girls single hinge. very center straight, diamond circulate, a pretty long thing, too long for a memorized module probably, but I use it anyway. It's for a box, but it works here. And why does it work here? Let me close this again before I do it. We are in ocean waves, and any module that goes through an ocean wave, any zero that goes through an ocean wave, can be used from an ocean wave. It's just used in a revolving way. You start it where it's in an ocean wave, and you end it where it comes back to the same ocean wave. And that's what you will see here. I select it again. This is a sequence of calls. I append it, insert it at the selected spot. So now it's here. Our spot was where we had before the circulate, which is down here. And so instead of doing the circulate, they will do first the module and then continue with the rest. So my point here is, while you're watching them go, that you should, when you learn calling, or you're a caller who has a set of memorized modules, put them in with Callarama, save them as modules. Then when you click here at an appropriate point, select custom. There are none here because mine are samples. They will appear here and you can use them. You can insert them or append them, put them to the end of a routine. Another way to work with this routine here is to insert calls. The easiest way is to insert a call that doesn't change much. Like if we have at this point here a box, I can easily insert a do-si-do because it doesn't change the phasor. So if I want to do this, I click here. And now my next calls will be inserted. I do a do-si-do. And then when this turns green, it means it's okay to continue with the remaining calls. You click append, and here it is. Before your do-si-do, you insert it right and left through. I could also have inserted swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers pass through the staple 0 module. And then I could continue with the right and left through. It would be green. An interesting way to use this, these features is constructing a call from its end. And do I have, still do I have time for this? Let's imagine that I have a class. I want to feature spin, change the gears. Just once. I want to load something. Here. Don't look at it yet. I want to feature spin change the gears, and I would like to have a singing call that ends with spin change the gears. So they come to the end and can swing their corner. I didn't find a singing call like this in the literature, so I make my own. So what I do is I bring my dancers with Callarama to a point, ignore what is above. To make it short, I took a shortcut here. I bring them, or let's do this, crop it off. So I brought them to this point here where they can swing their corner. And now I will go backwards. I construct a routine in reverse. So when you do this, want to do this, click here, R. Then you get a list of all calls that are available backwards from this, that lead to this. Select spin change the gears. And I would say I want to use it from spin change the gears from from the parallel wave, from normal waves. Click here, double click. So now they do the spin change the gears in reverse. My next call is, I'm looking at it, I say, oh, the heads are over here, the corner is over here. So what I have is, I work with these people here, and then I bring them, then the spin change the gear, we bring them over there. So I can easily do some calls here to bide the time. So I do flip the diamond in order to end where I am now. Flip the diamond from a right-hand diamond, double click. Then I do a diamond circulate in reverse. Now I want to get closer to the beginning of the singing call, which why I want the girls to unhinge. I want the girls to get unhinged. So I select hinge. Let me find my hinge. It's single hinge, it's not hinge. Single hinge. So now it's already more normal. How did they get there? They got there with via left. So I select via left. I hope I'm not boring you with this. Oh, no box. How did they get to there? They got there by heads lead right. So I select lead right. Heads from a normal square, lead right. So now at the beginning of my singing call only, I saw the problem is they are not with partner, they are with corner, which means I have circulated the ladies somewhere, and I can correct this later. First, let's play the singing call, which has a convenient number of 64 beats. So that's a spin change the gears, and then they come over and swing their corner and promenade home. So I don't want to take more time for this, but I would still correct it so they start out with their partner and end up with the corner, which means I would just, before the spin change the gears, I would interject insert, let's see, insert, girls circulate, and that should fix it, girls circulate. So now we probably have what we want. No, not quite. I messed it up a little, but I showed you what to do. Let's now we have 10 more minutes. I go briefly through other features. Let's say you called heads past the ocean. And you clicked girls roll and it didn't work. I believe it works now. Let me see. Oh, no, it doesn't work. It works in two couple mode, but it doesn't work here because the formation is not there. I don't have this formation. But if you have this problem, you go to manual mode, you click here, you say, I want the girls to roll. So you move them here into the middle, you right click, so they No, they left click. The girls pass the ocean. Yeah, they were left in a leftward motion, turning left. The roll puts them here. The boys are here. That's a bit of an unusual formation, but you can use it. If you want to save this for later, you put in a name here and the beats. I don't take the trouble now. You just click OK. Ignore, no beats. So what you want to do after this, you would may want to have them make it short, touch a quarter. So you let them touch a quarter, bring them here, bring them around, bring them here, turn them left. That's my girls touch a quarter. Click here. Ignore beats. And now Callarama always tries to find a formation for it where you can continue normally. And it found one. So you click yes, it found the formation. And now you can continue however you want to. Extend your tag and so on. When you play this, you will notice that the manual call will not be animated. It will just keep the beats, but jump to the next call. Animation is a bit more complicated and you can't do it in short time. But you have your manual mode, and if you enter the name and beats, then this call will be available wherever you encounter this situation or a similar one. I mean, an identical one with different dancers. Manual mode. 7 minutes. You can go asymmetric. You want to go asymmetric? I keep it for later if somebody wants to see it.
I would really like to see asymmetric.
Okay, then we do it now. In my slides, I have to show the slide for this. Share screen. This one here. I'm picturing something that Carl Campbell has put out. He calls it an asymmetric phasor. Why asymmetric? You have boys on one side, girls on the other side. That's obviously not symmetric because in a normal square, these two should always be mirrored. If this is a boy, this must be a boy. If this boy looks west, then this girl must look east. Otherwise, it's asymmetric. So this is an asymmetric phasor. And how do we deal with this? First thing, we must understand what is asymmetric in here. How can we make it normal? I rearranged the dancers up here this way. If it looked like this, it would be symmetric because then number 1 boy would have number 3 boy here facing the opposite direction. Same with girl number 1 and dancers number 4 and 2. When you look at those, you see what is wrong is they both are half sachet. If I unsachet this couple, then 4 would be here. And if I unsachet this couple, then it would be also fixed. So in order to demonstrate, keep this in mind, how to deal with something asymmetric like this. I will go back to my Callarama screen. Share the screen. Share screen. Yeah. No, it was the wrong one here. So we are back to Callarama. And now I need a other window here. I now want to set up this Campbell phasor, asymmetric phasor. What you do here is you go to mode asymmetric. There's a strange window here that you need to navigate. You will need instructions to use this. But I show you what I'm doing is I go here where I can set up formations in an asymmetric way. All of this I programmed fairly easily. It took only 2 months with help from Hal Barnes, because Hal Barnes has discovered all the mechanics behind asymmetric squares and described them in something that's a veritable dissertation. It is so meticulous and so to the spot. There's not a single unnecessary word in it. I admire him greatly. He's a mathematician and also a linguist who was able to describe it in a wonderful way. And I realized I can do this on Callarama without programming all asymmetric calls by just ignoring gender. Once they're asymmetric, I just ignore gender and call to them normally. I cannot call boys or girls. I have to call to centers, ends, very centers, both, belts, and so on. But I can call normally to them. And that made it so wonderfully easy. Now there are 2 fundamental ways for asymmetric calling. The easier one is called region 2, where 2 adjacent couples are half sachet. That's very easy to manage comparatively to region 1. These are labeled by Hal Barnes as such. So I can set up Hal Barnes phasor in this window here, but first I want to change my colors so they are the same as Hal Barnes, because I do not have the same. His heads are red and his number 2s are green and his number 4s are yellow, so I have to click through here. That's his colors. So I use his colors. That makes it easier. I go here. And now I can just click here and I happen to know where I go down. I select region 2, I go down to number 15, which is the setup that he used for this asymmetric phasor. Probably pushing dolls around, not using Callarama because he has a Mac and no emulator. I couldn't get him to use Callarama, unfortunately. So we selected this setup, and now I go to a box as depicted by Cal in his phasor. First, I start again. Here I will change the yeah, I'm a little disoriented as well. Now to actually go there, sorry, it's always a bit confusing when under pressure. To actually go there, I would do this. I chain the side ladies because they were also chained in his phasor, which is not asymmetric. Then I let them slide through the sides. Do right it through. this will end up with different orientations. I'll go back and do it with the heads. So sorry.
Reinhold, I'm sorry that I asked the question here. This is a lot more complicated and harder for you to describe, I think, than you have time to do.
I'm almost there. So bear with me, and the rest I could present is more easily explains itself from the instructions on Callarama. But this may be of some interest. So I actually do it from here. The head slide through, right and left through. Now everybody. So here I will make it asymmetric. I need to half sachet these two couples somehow. So if this were a square I were calling, I would just say, now the 4 dancers in the column away from me, because I'm here, I'm the caller, double pass through. To do it here, I have to select them with these little things here. And then for everybody, but it will only be performed by them, call double pass through in Callarama. So now it's asymmetric. Here we are, it's asymmetric. I can now call to this setup anything, but I must not use girls or boys, which is why when I take away this separation here, you don't see any calls for boys or girls. They are not even available here because they're illegal. They would mess everything up. You call for centers, ends, in phasers, or whatever else is available. So now I will quickly resolve this asymmetric phasor and show something that's really like sort of a miracle. Let the centers pass through. Oh, I forgot something. In my setups, I must of course do a U-turn back. So now it looks like Campbell's phasor. So I forgot this U-turn back, unfortunately. So now to resolve it with only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 calls. The centers pass through. Now here are the few calls that I had to program because they are performed asymmetrically. Everybody to do star through. Now there are 2 lines, but they're not facing each other and they're not back to back to each other. And here's the miracle call is bend the line. Because these dancers are not aware that the other ones are looking into their backs. Fortunately, they're not aware. You can call bend the line and they will just do it. And what a miracle, it's resolved. It's symmetric now. This thing up here has disappeared, no longer needed. You can call everybody go Dixie style to ocean wave. Dixie style to ocean wave. The boys circulate. Element left. And here you are. Promenade home or whatever. So this is an example how asymmetric can be used in brief. I recommend use it in brief sequences or modules within your calling, so you don't lose track of everything. You can concentrate on not using gender calls, or you have them ready as modules to go in and modules to go out. And then it can be quite entertaining, even for dancers who are not experienced. I always did this in Germany at the end of a club night. I would do a singing call very often that was asymmetric, because it's very easy to do. And on my slide number 17, I have described how you can do it. It's a very easy procedure. You cannot go wrong with it. And it can create fun or some consternation with dancers. So I encourage you to try it out. So what is more? It's 6:06, so there is no more. I give you, if there are questions later, an option to see how you can create your own call, how you can create a combination call, like center square through while the others load the boat, or something like this. And I could do an experiment with Callarama.net, which will move the dancers on your Callarama screen, if you have one. So thank you very much for your patience. I have outstayed my welcome already by 7 minutes. I apologize, and I give it back to Mel.
Thank you very much, Reinhold. Thank you to everybody. And yes, definitely a big hand. I want to thank you for taking your time to come out and give us this. Reinhold is going to stick around for a little bit to add and answer any questions, but I did get a fair number of questions in the chat and in private messages. So we're just going to address those. We are just past the top of the hour, so if you would like to stay, by all means, do so. As always, the session will be recorded, and a good portion of the after session will be recorded, and Mark will post that up on the OC Callers website as always. I have put in the documents from Hal Barnes on asymmetric mechanics, and also the bit that he wrote on asymmetric use, including the Spielong Callarama and asymmetric stuff from Hal Barnes. I put that in the chat, and Mark will also put that up in the in the OC Callers website. So I'm just going to go through the list of questions first for Reinhold to answer. I believe you have answered a fair number of these in your presentation already. I'm getting a lot of blings and I don't know why. Oh, Reinhold, you still got your voice activation on.
It should be muted. It shouldn't, but I will close it. Okay.
Yeah, you can unshare screen if you want.
Yeah.
Test 1, 2. Yeah, good. Okay, so the first question was, your program only goes to advanced. Is there a challenge program or another download? I think you've already answered that. Updates are automatic, but how do I save? You said you need to buy the program. Do you have to pay for upgrades and updating?
No.
No.
When I started it, it was pay once, and it has been like this, for 16 years. When I brought out the new Callarama, I changed it a little. I offered the option to pay it in 3 yearly installments. And after 3 years of initial purchase, I'm charging $10 for activation on a new computer, on another computer. If you lose it on your old computer and want to reinstall it, let me know, and I don't charge for it. But if it's on an additional device after 3 years have expired, I'm charging $10 because I realized I may spend the next 10 years watching my email and activating everybody without any remuneration. So the $10 shouldn't be too much.
Yeah, no, fair enough. How do you know what to type for your accent?
For the accent, yeah, that's a good question.
The only thing I can say in that is work on your diction and ask someone to be honest with you on how you're actually saying a word.
Yeah, but that's not all. Like me with my German accent, I have real trouble with some English words. I cannot make, like for instance, even heads is a bit dubious when I use it in the English speech recognition, and all is not always there, so I have to say everybody. But the German callers had a much worse time when they started using it because they have German speech recognition, and only half the calls were understood. So what I had to do for them with help of some of them to enter phonetic versions of the calls into the voice editor. You have to imagine, like the example bathroom. How does what I say sound to a German speaker or to an English native listener? So when I'm aware I'm saying bathroom, and he understands it as when I think I say pass through and I ask my buddy, what did you hear? And he says bathroom. Then I enter bathroom and everything will be okay. It would be
And as
better
I
if I could
understand it,
improve my accent and make myself understood. But if that's not an option, then I enter bathroom. And I've entered all the necessary bathrooms in the German version of the dictionary. So the German callers are quite happy, and I'm happy with the German speech recognition. It works much, much better than the English because there are not as many competing words out of these calls within the German language. Don't have to compete with much and are much easier to understand for the speech engine.
yeah, and it
And
works
there's
the same.
another way, may I interrupt? Excuse me. But we have lots of text to speech programs that exist. And if you go through one that, like, say, works with a Word document and you do it, you talk the calls, it'll tell you what it heard.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
And then you can take that and put it in the Callarama to solve the problem.
Yeah, you train your speech engine.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was saying. The other is for English and Australian speakers, things like pass through. The A is sounded like an AU in phonetically pause, pass, things like that. You get to learn that. But as Bob was saying, text to speech emulators, if you pick up one of the English emulators, I'm going to say this, I don't like saying it, but I'm going to say it, preferably an American one. It is the generic standard. Don't worry about the American spelling, but it's the general standard for phonetic pronunciation. Can you enter calls by typing them in somewhere instead of selecting on a Dropbox?
Yeah, I showed use the shortcut. Must share my screen again.
Yeah, I think this is the one I asked you quite a while ago. Can you type? I like typing the calls out in full, not abbreviations, but I think that's along the same line.
Yeah. Here is a window and whatever you type appears here, but this accepts only the shortcut. Like if you just type S, it's recognized as site, then you press enter or the space bar and sites will be selected here.
Okay, so there's no place where you could type heads
Well,
right through.
now that I have this new feature that I showed in the pre-session, where I can paste calls, a series of calls as text, like in terminations.
Yeah.
I can adapt it. I probably can enable you to type them into this window here.
Okay, so keep your eyes open for the next upgrade somewhere along the line.
So that's an option. I can use this window. I don't want to add more boxes or windows here because it's already so full of everything. But I can do this. It should appear here. But frankly, it doesn't make much sense to me. With this new feature, it will be better to do it here. That's a new feature. I showed it before. There's a read button. This is the sequence that I pasted in as text. You see, I can take it away. I can paste it. It's pure text. I click, this shouldn't be here already. Overlooks this, the feature is not really ready. You click start, it has read this and recognized the calls that are in Callarama. This has now the code behind it. Each line has the phaser code behind it. and one call that it didn't recognize. You have a choice here to, is it promenade home or is it home? So it's home, you double click. Then, and at this point, I'll show you something important. This thing here, the stack, when you click here, any calls you enter will be cached. They will not be performed, but they go into a waiting room. So if I go click record, oh, there was a red flash because these are calls for two couple. So I record again. And I lost my stack, of course. So it's, let's stop it. And I do this again because I want to explain the stack. Because this tells you what is happening when you use voice. So I record these calls. And this time, I know why, yeah. This automatically opens the stack, I'm sorry. But what you saw was the calls were waiting here to be performed. And this is what happens when you call with voice. You can call as many calls ahead as you want, which is bad practice, but you could. They all go into here, and then they are pulled from there and performed by the software. On the other hand, when you call with typing or from the list, you can only call one call ahead. So I can call here, going back to normal square mode. I could call head scan square, side scan square, which means sides face scan square. And while it's going, I can already type element left. Ideally, I would type or give this call at the right moment when they are ready for the element left. So if I'm using voice, I should try to give it as close to the moment as is appropriate, so there is no stop and go. And you can practice this with voice very well. That's a very, very valuable tool. Set it to an appropriate speed of 128 or 124, call with voice. Watch this slider here, which tells you how far they are in the grand square. And towards the end, give your element left at an appropriate time. And then you won't have, and watch that you don't have stop and go. So this was deviating to the stack. You can also use this stack to put in a number of calls, like a get up to a corner line or whatever you want. That would be only one call to an opposite line. See them here, then click it green and watch them perform. So this stack is an interesting tool that you should be familiar with. And thank you for the question.
Next question. Can you fractionalize calls or skip the first part of a call? For instance, skip the first part, do a right and left through, or skip the first part, do a spin the top?
That's a very good question. I can fractionalize, meaning I can skip the last part, the latter part. I have not yet thought of fractionalizing and skipping the first part. So I will note it down because it can be fairly easily be done. You want to see how to fractionalize the latter part?
Not at this point. We can come to that if somebody wants to have a look at it, but I'd like to get through all the questions because, as I said, we are past our time frame now. And some people will go, but Reinhold is going to stick around and answer any questions and is here for the discussion. The second one, reverse engineering was fast. Can you clarify, when you reverse engineer, it gives you a list of calls that could come before that, and you can just select one. Is that correct?
It gives you all the calls that can come before this phaser.
Okay. So if you want to end with spin the top, it'll tell you start with swing your corner, you go to spin the top, and then it'll give you a list of what got there before spin the top.
You have to click this R every time.
Okay.
It does not give you a series of calls, because it would narrow your choice unnecessarily. It gives you a single call that can come before, and then you do the next one.
Okay. For ocean waves or similar formations, is it possible to have the dancers in a straight line instead of a wavy line?
That was a request Bob made.
I know that this sets my software apart, but I make the point, I deliberately, back in 2002, didn't do this. And why? Because I find those graphics of formations where everybody's in a straight line totally uninteresting. I cannot, with one glance, tell them apart. I have to look at the orientation of the dancers who are always in one straight line. In actual dancing, the dancers in ocean wave are not in a straight line. They are technically, but they are not really, because correctly speaking, they should be palm by palm with their hands, their palms against their palms. And that means they are not in a straight line. They are in a formation like this, maybe not as exaggerated like this, but they are staggered, definitely. Anybody who says otherwise, I would discuss. So that's why I decided to do it like this. And in my view, the big advantage is that I can recognize the formation much easier from its footprint here.
A wave stands out, a line stands out. This is the way dancers should be standing, but I agree with you 100%. I like it this way as well.
I'm not going to put them in a line just because Caller Lab started doing it and Terminations continue doing it. It's, I believe, a bad practice.
Now, to the person that sent in this question, I moved it after that last question specifically because I think you were probably asking the same thing. Is there a show hands button? Can you show the hands where they're joined?
No, that may be something of the future, because I can tell you, and I forgot to mention Gardner Patton. Gardner Patton is my buddy, my partner in developing this software. He came in about 10 years ago when he said, I like your voice recognition, but it needs improvement. I just started it. And he developed the mechanics of the voice recognition the way it is now, with its own vocabulary, which I didn't have before, and which made it really work. And ever since, he is my beta tester. He makes me crazy with what he finds, because he goes around and clicks everywhere, and then mistakes come up, and he says this didn't work. And I have to spend hours to iron out, but it's worth it, and I'm very thankful to him. So repeat the question, please, because I forgot it while talking about Gardner Patton.
Can you have the formation show where the hands are joined? Yeah. Like, for instance, in the ocean.
What I'm working on with him on his request is a tool that monitors the flow of dancers. And we have come quite far to having a little light down here that can turn red, bad flow, yellow, or green, good flow, depending on in what sequence you are using your calls. It's not bad, it's just not ready to be published. And the next step after this, and this already recognizes handhold, but it doesn't show the hands. It does recognize handhold. It will monitor and flash red when the handhold is impossible, or bad, or yellow when it's bad, but it doesn't show the hands. I may consider, once this is really working, to add on hands, and that would be a real improvement.
Okay, well, that's a perfect segue into the next question.
I'd like to make a comment first, please.
Certainly.
Okay, what you might not realize, if he just makes the adjustment into a wave, he has to rewrite every animation that uses a wave. He doesn't just change that and it's a block change of everything.
Yeah, what I do is I could do it, but I would write a routine that automatically that performs it like this in the background and then presents it as a line. Like this, I would have to program something only for each formation, not for every footprint. I could do it in a day if I wanted to, but I won't do it.
I know. We've had this argument since the very beginning.
Okay, the next question was, you note that the definitions allow you to correct dancers to face each other. For instance, a roll after past the ocean. It's not allowed in the definition. It's improper by the ARC, but you can program your Callarama. It's good that you can program it to do things that you want to do, that you want the dancers to do. I think what that is the movement that you had past the ocean and centers roll, or past the ocean and roll, is not a proper call, but it's used by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So your program is set up to allow callers to do that individually. Is that correct?
No, it's set up. It allows it because I'm not censoring callers. You are the caller. You should know or learn to know what you can call and what you cannot call. In this flow feature, it might be flagged in the future if we include rules. They will never be complete, and there's an endless discussion of what rules. That would be a committee in Caller Labs that has worked for decades. So it could be done more or less, but that's not my purpose, because I allow you to call anything, like you can call to your dancers past the ocean and roll, and it will probably work, and some may even like it. Whether it's good or not, that you should learn yourself, I cannot tell you. And the other reason is, and that's the main reason, in my software, you can arrive at this mini formation not just from past the ocean, but also from swing through. And there a roll must be allowed, because it can be called. Therefore, I cannot rule out roll in general from this mini formation, which is why it is here and it should work. Let me see if it works, I hope. Oh, here. When something is yellow like this, I'm not sure you can see it. When calls are have a yellow background, it means they are not programmed for this formation. What happens is my software turns the callers around a quarter in the direction of flow. It knows the flow, and then it searches for a formation where they can end. And that cannot always work. So here, when there's a red flash, it hasn't worked because the formation is not there. It would be a straight line of dancers with the boy facing in and the girl facing out. And I haven't programmed this for the two couple mode and the square mode yet. I will probably do it for the two couple mode because it's much used there.
Can you call?
I do want to add on a second. Hang on a second. I do want to add on for a second. I saw a lot of heads flash up. I'm getting a lot of chat on Past the Ocean and Roll. I saw Dick, your head popped up and you sent me a comment on that. Not correct. I'm only feeding the questions. That was an ARC decision that said it's incorrect. We can have that discussion on Past the Ocean and Roll after. That's a whole, as Reinhold said, that's an entirely different conversation. But I will just allow, if the comment is relative to the program, absolutely, we'll talk about specific choreographic aspects afterwards. Yes, Bob.
Can you pass through partner hinge and roll?
Yes, you can.
Who passes through the head?
Sure.
heads, partner, hinge, and roll.
Yeah, the heads.
They call.
Problem
No,
is you can't have a straight line.
I don't have the formation because it would be a mini wave here. And in a square, it would be a mini wave in a square. I can do it. If you want to do it, you do it like this.
Well, do it from a line.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. First, you say move in, you bring the heads in, then you pass through, and then you do. It should be there from here. So why is it not? It's a call that should be here, but it
You
isn't.
have the advance calls listed.
It's
you probably
the
don't have advance
advanced.
selected.
Can you call single wheel?
The center single wheel or everyone or center
Yes.
single wheel.
There's partner hinge.
Yeah, you can do
There's
partner
partner
hinge now.
hinge.
There you go. See,
Okay.
and Callarama doesn't know it, but pass through partner hinge is past the ocean.
Yes, actually, Callarama does know it. The problem is not that, but we'll save that discussion for afterwards. Okay, that's not a computer programming issue. That's an ARC decision issue, and like any caller, they don't get it right all the time, but that's the decision that's current right now, so that's the one we're here to. One of the things that was noted in here is when you're doing asymmetrical choreography,
Yeah.
there are limitations on asymmetrical choreography. Example, bend the line after that run is not good flow. If you have a boy girl, you can always adjacent, you can always do boys fold, star through, those kinds of things, which are better flow. Absolutely, but that when you do those things, that's where that little red box will flash or the yellow box will flash and give you a warning that that's bad flow. Is that correct?
Yeah, in the future, that needs a little more work.
Yeah.
But I think I will eventually bring it.
Yeah. And one of those things I would like to add that on as a comment for all of the caller software program. This one is a long way ahead of a lot of others in some of the aspects of what you can and cannot do. But as always, the same with doing your checkers, the program will do what you tell it to do if it's programmed to do it. You have to be aware of flow. You have to be aware of handholds. You have to be aware of which way the dancers are moving. Never forget that this is a caller's aid. It's not to do your work for you. Oh, wait a minute. Another question just came up here. The representation of an ocean wave according to the definition of an ocean wave in the definition of balance. I'm not sure what you meant by that, Guido.
That's the same question about the staggered ocean wave, I believe. Because Callarama shows it in a straight line. How would you balance in a straight line? You cannot.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any balance because you have an awkward handhold from there. You cannot balance. You have to be face to face to balance. It was just a technical thing that when they did this formation, somebody did the formation diagrams way back for Callarama, and they did it in not in a less careful way because it was easier to do it like this.
All right, that's all the questions that we have that were submitted. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Reinhold's going to stick around for a bit. If you have any questions specific to the program, by all means. And if we were going to get into discussing choreography, such as the flow as opposed to the definition, Dick, I'm in complete agreement with you, but it's not my argument. I've been on both sides of this coin as a mediator. It's one that's going to get tense. So depends on where you're from. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask Reinhold any questions that you may have.
May I have just a minute? I want to point out a couple of things that you may not be aware of. If you click choreo here, you get over 1,000 different samples. Among them, all the samples that Hal Barnes has in his publications about asymmetric choreography. You can select them here, and then you can have them here as a routine, and you can play with them and go to any place in there. See here how he has 2 inverted lines, and he does different things here and so on. He also has examples where he has boys on one side and girls on the other in their respective ways and so on. So look at the choreo collection. There's also a really good collection of rectangle choreo by Bob Elling, well worth looking into. The other thing is, if you want to have something similar to terminations, explore just one calls, you can recommend your dancers to use this here. Here, when you click explore, you have a list of all calls that are selected up here. And you can go to one, Pixie Style to Wave, shows you all situations where it can be done on Callarama. You click here, it goes to the footprint, the phaser, the formation, and it performs it for you so you can review it. So this is a tool to survey, watch one call at a time. Yeah, what else important? Something. Yeah, I will take the questions first, but if at the
There
end
was
you
one
want to
more
speak,
thing, Reinhold, is can you download the instructions as a document that you can print out?
yeah, this help file here is an XPS file. If you have an XPS viewer, like on Word for Windows, you can read it there. Else, you go to my website, callarama.com. I'll show you. Go to the website, and under the resources tab, you will find a help PDF that you can download.
Okay, that's all the questions that I have. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have.
Reinhold, I was trying to do cast off 3/4 from an Alamo ring, and it wouldn't let me do it.
It should. It should. Let me see.
From an Alamo ring,
Yeah.
what is the
Yeah,
hand you use to cast off with?
I would have said with the right hand cast off 3/4, or with the left hand cast off 3/4.
Well, yeah. But who? With your partner, probably.
No, a hand determines who it is.
Yeah, the problem is here. You see down here, there's hinge. It cannot be used here because I wouldn't know who hinges with whom. So I had to add on hinge right, hinge left. I didn't do this for cast off 3/4.
Because it's undefined.
Yeah, no, I could cast right, cast left. I could do the
Yeah.
same thing. Well, actually, I may have to do it. When something comes like this, you tell me, and then
So I would have to do a hinge and a trade.
Yeah, you can do a trade. You do 3 hinges. And now you can use the normal hinge because in your hinge right again. That would be a bit awkward.
Okay.
But you have a point. I will definitely add this on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
I didn't quite catch how you got to the choreo collection. Is it at the very top there?
Yeah, here,
Okay.
choreo.
Okay.
Then you get
Okay,
this.
thank you.
I ask a very fundamental question. The 3D dolls, I found it really hard to tell the boys which way they were facing because they're bald-headed and bald-faced.
Yeah, that's right. I should,
If they had some hair, I might be able to see which way round they are.
I will make the nose black. I will
Make the
give them a
nose
black
bigger.
nose. I think that should resolve it. A black nose.
Or something so you can tell, because I can't see a nose or eyes.
But I didn't give them hair to set them apart from the girls.
Okay, well, the girls have got skirts on, haven't they? So
Just give them a Marine haircut.
The easiest thing for me is to give them a black nose.
Make it a red nose.
A red nose.
yeah.
Okay, the red nose.
I mean, the way some of my dancers have behaved sometimes, I'm wondering.
I thought they'd be drinking.
I make their noses bigger and make them red.
It's just
I can see the noses.
Can you?
I would just note that the men are wearing ties on their front, not their back.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. That's something I did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Reinhold, I just want to say that you have been so good over the last few years. I mean, I've sent you change after change after change, and you have you put them all in or explain to me why they don't work. Your attention to this program is just amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dick, but I would put it in reverse because you have been, after Gardner Patton, probably the most productive supplier of ideas and pointer to arrows, and especially in the A1 and A2, because I'm not familiar with it sufficiently. I have to resort to the definitions very often, and it wouldn't be what it is without you, Dick. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you.
And just as a note, that does apply. I haven't been as prolific as Dick. I've probably been maybe 1/100th of 1%. But anytime I have asked a question to Reinhold with regard to the software, he has always got back to me right away. Or if there's something missing or there's a problem with something, he always gets back to me with a response very quickly. If there's a change that needs to be made, he makes that change very quickly. And the fact that every time you update or every time he updates the program, whenever you open your program on the computer, it will automatically update and upgrade to the current version.
Let me point out, this has to be checked here, auto. When this is checked, it will connect to the internet, check whether there's a new version. Then it will, if there is, and you say yes, it will close your Callarama and open the website where you download the new version. If this is not checked, it will not automatically check. But if you click here, it will go to the website and tell you what version you have.
Yeah, and that's in the data tab at the top.
You see, I clicked here and it said you have 2.11 and there is no more recent version, so no need to upgrade right now. Yeah, you want me to do the final experiment for a dwindling number of participants to move your dancers around on your Callarama remotely?
You mean multiple people working on one program?
Yeah, I will do it. This is an interactive thing. A host begins it. I would be the host. And one or more clients open their Callarama. It doesn't have to be a paid for Callarama. It can be the free version. Only the host needs a paid for one, fully licensed. And then we can alternate giving calls to each other, and they will be performed on all the Callaramas without any Zoom or Skype or anything. It's totally in the background. So we can keep using Zoom for the verbal and visual communication. And the Callarama will be operated over a separate network connection where the calls are being sent over. Basically, the code is being sent over and it should move the dancers on your screen. So if you want to try it, we can.
So if you have Callarama open on your computers,
Who has it open?
I do.
just let Reinhold know. Just raise your hand. So John
Reinhold.
Casey has it open. Mark Hart has it open. I've got it open.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
but you have seen it already.
Yeah, I know.
I have it open.
You have one, but okay, you want to see how it works?
Reinhold,
Yeah.
does it still have to have everybody have to be on the same calls being listed from the calls
Yeah.
list?
If it's not the case, then I will be notified. Let's all go to take out the advanced calls. Let's all go to just mainstream and plus. Then I will show you how to do it. You go to tools here. By the way, here is something, the robocaller of the future. If instead you want to see the robocaller of the future, this is Callarama calling by itself. It's not fully finished, but it already works pretty well.
Yeah, we'll do that after.
Okay, so you connect as a client. You click here while I click here.
Okay, so on your own session, tools, connect as client.
Yeah,
It's asking for a session code.
yeah, I'm coming. You see the code here. You see it on my screen here?
No, it just disappeared.
Says host.
It was too fast, Reinhold.
No,
Oh, it's over the top now.
I'm sharing my screen. It's here.
It's still there, right there in the left-hand corner.
Okay.
FBBDRD.
So where it says host FBBDRD in your
Yeah,
window
I'm the
where it
host
says
and the
ask,
code is FBBDRD. That connects you to me. Now I get a message, Dick joined as a client. And the other messages are probably suppressed if they come at the same time. So have you all joined? Whoever is interested. Mark Hart joined as a client. Mel joined as a client.
you do not have to type the word host, just FBBDRD.
John, Malcolm. Oh, I have quite a crowd here.
Is there a limit to how many people can do this?
No, there's no limit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Get it either.
I can hear you.
Okay, so
How do you join?
yeah.
You go here to tools. Can you see my screen?
No, but I can find it on mine. Oh, here, I can enlarge it.
And connect as client.
Okay. Connect.
Okay.
I'm trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, I was recording and it wouldn't, I couldn't minimize that way. Okay.
And then you enter this code here, FBBDRD.
Okay, and where do you do that? Right here?
You get a window that asks you to enter it.
Mine's
You get a message that asks you to enter it.
Okay.
switch to list or whatever.
Wow.
Okay, I don't see the question on where to enter the code.
Then enter it. I think it can be entered here. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, Yolanda, on your computer, when you said connect as client,
Yeah.
did it open up a new window?
Yes, message.
Yeah.
Okay. At the bottom of that window is a box.
Okay.
Do you see the box? Little white box?
Mine just says to use Callarama.net, please switch layout.
That's what I'm getting.
That's
what you're the intro layout. You must switch to list or label layout here.
Okay, wait a sec. I have to enlarge this one then in order to see.
Here where it says layout, it doesn't work with intro because intro has limited features. You have to have one of those lists.
So which one do we want? List, right?
Yeah, for you, it's if you had intro before, then now use list. So
Okay.
you don't have to,
Okay.
and then you can do it.
Then go back to
Go
tools.
back to tools,
How
Connect.
did he,
Oh, okay.
connect
how did he
as
get into
client.
Callarama?
Is it case sensitive for that code?
No,
Getting too far behind, I think.
now I already hear people talking here. I will take away your permissions because I'm the host. I can give you full permission, partial permission, or none. To start with, I give you no permission. So you don't mess with me right now.
Uh-oh.
So, so
Could
I can call you. I can call now. Like I can do a heads.
Okay, so
Mine's
up to quarter. And this
Yolanda,
should
have
now-
you joined?
I don't think so.
Mine said cannot connect with with the server.
How did he get into Callarama? What would he do? I missed that. Couldn't understand that.
Okay,
How did he get into the Callarama?
okay. Have you downloaded Callarama onto your computer, John?
Oh. I gotta leave the screen though, don't I? That's where I have troubles.
No, do you have Callarama on your computer yet?
Oh, yeah, I got the, yeah.
Okay, so open up Callarama.
So the silence going crazy.
Anybody who has voice on Callarama should mute it. Turn it off because it will interfere.
I'm going to turn
So
my
many
Callarama.
participants, there's no discipline in talking and it will interfere. So turn your voice, Callarama voice off, not your Zoom voice.
Yeah, I can't leave the screen, can I? To
Okay.
get to Callarama.
No, John, you open your Callarama, then here in layout, make sure you don't have intro. You must have list or label.
Yeah. So have you double clicked the icon or just minimize the Zoom screen?
Oh, layout. Okay, there.
Okay. So once you've done that, open up Callarama.
Where's the Zoom? I'm lost.
Okay. Have you got a single screen on your computer?
Yes, I do. I see you on the side.
Okay.
The
Just
screen.
click your mouse on the screen in a piece of white space anywhere and hit the escape button. That should make it smaller.
Okay, now.
Okay.
Okay. Now minimize it. Hit the little thing, the little minus arrow up in the top right-hand corner. And that'll minimize it. Then double click on the Callarama icon.
Okay, I'm trying to get up. Maybe I can get this one here. Okay, I got you.
Okay, and it'll tell you, do you want to change settings and all that other kind of stuff? Just say, yes, you want to open the program.
Computer help only $25 an hour.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, are you there yet? You got the program open?
Yes, I am. I got yes.
Okay, so first button on the left of the tab bars, go to layout. Click layout.
Yes. Okay.
Switch it to list mode. Make sure list mode is ticked.
Oops.
Holly made it in.
Where'd I go?
Yeah.
When you click the layout button, it'll say layout intro, list mode, label mode, mini.
No, I went into it and the my lock or block button came up and took it away from me for a minute.
Okay, well, click layout again.
Come on, open up.
It generally takes a couple of seconds to go across to the new mode.
And Dick Otis, do you still have a question? Because you still have your hand raised and hand raised.
No, I don't have a question. I don't know how to take my hand back down. Oh, lower hand. Never mind. I figured it out.
Okay, have you got it, John?
And that's where I am at too. I've got the
Okay,
layout
have you,
and list done.
have you switched to list mode?
Yes.
Okay. Go across the top to the where it says list, right between calls and mode.
Yes.
Sorry, not list, calls, I should say. Click on the calls tab.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have advanced ticked?
No, but I can.
Good. Make sure it is not ticked. You should only have
Okay.
mainstream plus, extra calls, custom calls.
Okay, I'll do custom calls then.
And do not have advanced clicked.
Okay, done.
Callarama voice 2 has been started.
Oh, shut up.
Vocabulary.
I'm stuck on the Callarama download screen for some reason.
Okay, that means you have an updated Callarama.
Yes, that's the question I wanted to ask Reinhold about, was the voice. When we're
Okay,
doing
let's just get as many as we can first, and then we'll get that. Okay, so the next thing you want to go to is the Tools tab.
Okay. Connect as client.
Connect as client. It will open a window
Yes.
that says
Now I see.
enter host code.
Okay. So what's the code?
In that
please?
white box, type
Yeah.
FBB D
F
R-
as in. Okay. F as in friend.
up in the top left-hand corner. Yeah. F as in
Yeah.
Foxtrot. B as in Bravo. B as in Bravo.
Whoa. F, B, and two B's?
Yes.
Okay.
D as in Delta.
Yes.
R as in Romeo.
Yes.
D as in Delta.
Yes.
Hit OK.
There we go. Done.
Now just wait a second and it will let you in.
Okay. And then okay.
Here, yeah. Yolanda.
Okay, John. I don't know if we can get you connected. If you haven't done the recent update, we're going to have to walk you through all of your Windows blockage stuff. I can talk you through all that afterwards, how to actually upload the program if it's being stopped by your Windows Defender or antivirus.
Is
But-
somebody able to record this though? Because I can't record this anymore.
It's being recorded.
Okay.
Orange County
Okay,
College
ready?
Association will have it.
Okay, so John, if you just watch the screen on Reinhold's share screen, that's what everybody else will be seeing anyway.
Okay, because I was clicking yes for the upgrade. I already upgraded a couple weeks ago when he first came out with it. And every time you click yes, it brings me up to that download screen. But this time I clicked no, and it brought me up to the Callarama screen. And I just clicked layout, and then you said to click what after that?
Okay, on your layout, you click list mode.
List mode, yeah.
You got that?
Yes.
Okay, go to the calls tab.
Calls, yeah.
Okay, make sure advanced is not ticked.
The extra is not clicked.
You just make sure they're all ticked except advanced.
Oh, everything but okay.
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 Then go across to tools.
Right.
Click connect as clients.
Right.
Okay, and it'll open up. It says the host code. There's a little
Yes.
white box under there. Type F for Foxtrot, B for Bravo, B for Bravo, D for Delta, R for Romeo, D for Delta. Hit the OK
F,
button.
B, B, D,
R,
R,
D.
D.
Yeah, and hit the OK button.
Okay, now I got it.
Now just
Let me
wait a
write
minute
that down.
and you'll join in.
Okay. Connecting. Okay. Got it.
My Now we have
Okay, you're up, Reinhold.
I've never had as many clients. So we are ready now?
Okay. Now,
Okay.
before you start, I will ask everybody to mute themselves on Zoom while Reinhold is talking.
No,
Because
not
of-
on Zoom. Oh, yeah, okay. So, yeah.
On Zoom, because it'll come through the programs, it'll do all this. It's like its own mini Zoom thing. So mute yourself on Zoom just so that if there is voice activation, it doesn't come through the speakers and try and make the dancers dance.
I mean, the important thing is mute your Callarama voice or turn it off, this thing. Then nothing can happen. It doesn't work well when many people are talking. So the Callarama voice should be turned off. So now, right now, I have given no permissions for you to do anything, and I will just do a little call here, a little routine. And this should also appear on your screens, and you will see what happens. So,
Is there a
this
way to
is-
turn off the ding when you're doing calls?
yeah, it's here.
Okay.
Beep. So this is perform on your screens.
Yes.
So it worked as it should. So now I will give permission to give calls. And you can alternate to call from here.
Do you have any idea how many people are hooked in as clients?
Looked like 15 or so. So whoever wants to do something should say,
Yeah. What you have to
give a
remember.
call, and then, but don't give them the voice, because voice gets messed up here. With all the
Mine
sound.
didn't change.
What you have to remember is this is pretty much the same type of exercise as caller A call, the next caller makes the next call, the next caller makes the next call as an exercise, or you can show each other routines. So Reinhold, you know who's in.
Yeah.
You can just tell somebody to make a call.
No, I don't have the information. I see only 6 people here, 5 beside myself.
Okay,
because my Zoom screen is minimized, is so minimized.
Okay, well, if you want and you're online, just raise your hands and I'll just pick you across my list one at a time. So Reinhold,
if you, Mel, could coordinate it, it would be great.
Okay, if you want to start us off, Reinhold.
Yeah, somebody wanted wheel and deal, but that's not possible from here. I give.
Okay, so raise your hand if you're on and. Nobody wants to play.
Nobody wants to play.
I raised my hand.
Oh, sorry, I can't
It's
say.
out of sync
Okay.
with me.
Okay, we're going to start with Scotty. What can you do from here?
Well, it's interesting because over on the left-hand side it says veer left, but my figures are still showing as 8 chain through.
Yeah, I'm still seeing 8 chain through as well. Now it just updated.
You need to request sync. See up there in the top left, where it says sync client, and now that Callarama.net. You need to hit that sync if you're not the same as Reinhold's. And he will, as you see on his screen, it comes up with a window, and he'll click OK, and then you'll be synced with what his is.
There's so many participants. I've never tested it with 15 or 20 participants.
Okay, so Scotty chooses tag the line.
Oh,
You're being nasty, Scotty, but I love it. Who's next?
I'm next. I do clover leaf.
Shouldn't cloverleaf from here
Why not?
because you don't know which way the dancers are going.
I do because I'm not collar left. My dancers have just passed right shoulders, so they won't go to the right. They will go to the left. But I don't have it. Are they the heads? I may not have it because this call has been entered for 2 couple dancing, and you managed to catch it. I'm not ready to do this call for the whole square, this clover leaf. So I will just turn back.
You're still hanging out?
Yeah. You need something.
Jessica needs a fake Slurpee when you're.
And then I will have the very centers hinge. Very centers. Which should. No. The boys hinge.
It'd be a left touch a quarter because they would not have their hands joined yet.
How about very centers face left?
Yeah, that's a good idea. No.
You have to snap it first.
With this formation, there is a problem because it's not really programmed for the full square. I propose something else. I click here and somebody can resolve. Here, resolve this trade by box. That should be easy. Somebody can.
Okay.
To resolve.
Yolanda, give us the next call. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Yes. I think I booted myself out, so never mind. I'll just watch.
Well, if you're watching on the screen, give us the next call.
Let's see. Trade by. Trade by.
Trade by. Can you plug that?
Boy, go.
Can you do a trade by, please, Reinhold? She's not in the system.
Oh, you want me to do it? Okay.
Yeah, I think I booted myself out accidentally.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to enlarge the Zoom screen and it.
Okay, Holly, are you in?
Yes.
Do the next call, please.
Okay. But we've got them half shade on one side. Pass through again. Pass through.
You should be able to do that on yours, but okay.
I'm sorry. I'm supposed to type it in down here. The keyboard shortcuts.
Linda.
Yeah,
Are you in?
I think so, but I'm not able to do anything on my screen. I can't see the call on my Callarama.
No.
Did you sync it?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Okay, that could just be because we've got so many
It has to
people
be
in.
by the host.
Okay. So Reinhold, do you want to enter this? I think it's just because of the number of people that are in, it's creating an international timing glitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you want to enter? Ends partner trade or half? I didn't get the call.
What was your call, Linda?
Let's do a U-turn back.
Okay.
Okay, who's next?
Centers pass through.
Centers pass through?
Centers pass through.
Yep.
You got it. Michael.
Pass through.
back where we were.
You guys are going in circles.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the resolution from here, 2 moves. Or that
Now I would say promenade, but don't stop.
Out of sequence.
No, that works. I mean, you say promenade, but don't stop, and then you say heads. Everybody bend the line, or
wheel around, or whatever.
Wheel around, and then you do a right and left through, and you have resolved it.
Okay. Unlike caminations, this will do a promenade, don't stop, and you can actually give calls in the Alamo ring, the circle, or in the promenade. Can you just promenade us with a don't stop and do a heads wheel around?
I will do it and show you, because you need to read the instructions on promenade and circle, because if you just say promenade, it will promenade and promenade, not forever, but it will promenade about once and a half, and you have time to interrupt it where you want to interrupt it. So I click here, I let them promenade, and then at some time I bend the line, and it does it where I wanted it to. If you want to define the promenade, you would say promenade full, half, quarter, or whatever. But if you just click promenade, it will do it and give you an opportunity to end it at a point of your choice. And that's the same with circle left. If you say just circle left, it will go circle, circle, circle. And when you see them almost halfway around, you could say element left, weave your ring, or element left, right, and left grind, and you're home, or something. So there's a difference between just promenade and promenade defined. That's the thing here. So, of course, I wanted bend the line, not promenade. So
yeah, from here, Reinhold, can you do a promenade with a heads wheel around?
Yeah.
Just to show it.
Heads wheel around here. Oh, you wanted them first to promenade. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, everybody just promenade, and then I do heads wheel around, and it does it here because I gave the call about here. I gave the call here, and they did it there. So now we do a right and left through, and then we are resolved. Okay, oh, it was a heads right and left through, but that works just as well. And we are resolved. We can do an element left now. Notice here, when these are green, it means everybody is in sequence. They are both in sequence, boys and girls, and you can call a proper element left. If it's not, it's pink. You can call it, but it will not be a resolution.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you get the abbreviations on the right-hand side? I don't know what we clicked. I have the abbreviations with like DIXGD is Dixie Grand, but how do you get your little colored ones?
The color, like
the right-hand side, the color.
Yeah, there's something. Some of them are in a family of calls, and there's a black outline here. It means you click and you are not yet there. You have to click from this list.
How do I get that list? I'm not.
Yeah, I think what Holly's asking is you're set up in teaching order basic, basic 2, mainstream plus. How do you change it from the list, the written list, to that layout that you have? I think, and that is in your
layout mode
or your mode layout.
You want to change the layout here?
Yes.
So that's label mode or mini?
Yeah. So on your version of Callarama, Holly.
Yes.
Just open up your version, not the screen share version.
Okay.
And you see where it says layout?
Yes.
Change it to label mode.
Okay.
That That was the question.
That's,
okay.
thank you. I missed that somewhere along the line.
Okay, and
Yeah.
you'll see in label mode everything that's there up in the top: yellow, green, blue, sometimes it's red.
Yes. Okay.
That tells you something. What all the colors are, you got to get used to, but all of that is in the help files and in the user guides. I've pasted them in the chat. You can download them, or you can also download them in PDF form off of the website, callarama.com.
Yeah, okay, I think we can conclude this exercise here.
Now, I would like to point out there is also on Facebook a Callarama users group. There's a lot of people that use the program Callarama. Reinhold is apparently in there fairly often, answering questions, and Reinhold is always available to answer questions. Your questions in Callarama from the help file where it says send message, that goes directly to Reinhold. And I know if he's not able to check his message every day, he usually does it at least every second day, and he will get back to you. If there are problems that you find or a call that you cannot do, you might just be hitting a button, or it might be something overlooked or not done from that setup. Send him a message. Very quick to update, very quick to respond. Reinhold, I cannot thank you enough for showing us the program, walking us through it, and providing all the information, plus providing the free download to everybody to use the full program for 3 months free of charge. So take advantage of that, download everything, have a good look through it, have a good play with it. I think you'll find the flexibility of the program quite amazing. So thank you very much, Reinhold. Thank you very much. And
thank you. Thank you.
If you want to stick around,
thank you very much.
If you want to stick around and ask questions, by all means. Does anybody have any more questions for Reinhold?
Playing with it.
I'll take that as a no.
Okay.
Thank you very much. The slides from Reinhold's presentation are also in the chat. They're also available on the link of the Callarama website, and Mark Hart will also be posting those on the Facebook pages with the recorded session. So, Dick, are you still here? No, Dick Otis has gone away. You can stop your screen sharing if you wanted, Reinhold. Thank you. Yeah, my computer was just a bit slow. Just as a notice, Dick was mentioning the question or the comment on pass the ocean and roll. If you look at the dancer flow, yes. If you look at the way computer programs and everything else show it with that arcing on the outside and the girls doing the left hand touch a quarter on the inside, roll works. The reason that they say pass the ocean and roll is incorrect, or sorry, not incorrect, improper, is because of the definition, which is pass through, face the person next to you, step forward to an ocean wave. And you cannot do a roll after a step forward. Regardless of what the dance action does, regardless of how the styling explains it, regardless whether you agree or disagree, that was the ARC from Collar Lab's decision in 2004. It has not been changed yet. So as with anything, we may not always agree with what the ARC says. If you are going to use material like that, just make sure you qualify it, explain it to your dancers what you want. As long as you're clear and they can dance it, that's fine in your club. I'm not sanctioning it. I'm not saying it's wrong. Just be cautious and don't use something like that in an open dance, because sure enough, there will be another caller that'll be raising hands. You can't do that from here and all that other kind of garbage. That's not what we're here for as callers. We're here to give the dancers a good time. The discussions about the merits of movement and opinions on how they work, this is the venue for it where callers talk. There are lots of alternatives to that. Guido has just posted one into the chat, like split circulate 1.5. All these kinds of things will work, but just be cautious on what you use. Go ahead.
Can I ask one question about the program Callarama for a sec. So if we change the layout, does it automatically get saved, or do you have to hit a save button so that it stays there for the next time you use it?
Almost all of your preferences will be saved, so it comes up like you left it.
Okay, thank you.
When you exit out, it'll ask you, do you want to save preferences or save this thing? Just hit yes.
Okay.
And
Thank
that'll
you.
leave it the way it was for the most part. I believe that's correct, isn't it, Reinhold?
Yeah. The question, yes, is do you want to exit? It saves it if there is a check mark on save these settings. As long as the check mark is there, it will save your last settings.
Okay, I'm gonna try.
And for those of you that use voice, if you unticked voice in the session that Reinhold was doing, remember when you open it up, if your voice isn't working, you got to go back into voice and retick the box to activate it.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, John with the fire trucks behind you. Were you asking a question? All I can see is your head inside of a fire truck. You're muted, John.
Hello, Barry.
Good.
You're still muted.
Okay, it worked.
Put your finger on the space bar.
Asking a question. No, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have a question. I just got my computer back, and 3 weeks ago, you said there were some websites that this goes, callers in training or beginning callers. I tried to find it. What is it, I guess?
Okay, give me 1 second and I will pull it up for you.
Thank you.
John is a new caller, so he's really getting into this. I've been helping him.
Holly's been helping me. It was great last Saturday. We missed the session because we were training.
Not to worry.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's nice to have another newbie. I'm one of the real newbies, John, just so you know.
I think I'm newer than you.
I doubt it.
Okay, did that come up on your screen?
Yes, it did.
Okay, now.
Callarama.com, friends.
Yeah, that written out is the actual, you can type that in as the link or join that link. That'll give you the updated program, the free version. Once you do it, it'll send a message to Reinhold. He'll send you a code that'll activate the free 3-month trial for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. My other question.
The one on Friends of Mel is already activated for 3 months.
Okay.
You don't need a code.
Oh, okay.
The one on the website, Friends of Mel, is already good for 3 months.
Thank you.
Okay, now if you're having trouble loading it, if you get a Windows Defender or this is unsafe, just hit the 3 dots, mark keep. It'll go through, it'll give you another warning. Just keep going through the warnings that say keep, yes, this website is safe, mark it as safe. Keep, do you want to run the program? It'll say don't run. Just go to the down arrow, click run anyway, and it'll go through it. You have to tell it to allow Windows Defender or your antivirus program to load it, but it does load. The site is perfectly safe.
Oh, I have another question. Actually, I have this laptop that it's loaded on, but I have my old laptop. So can I load it onto my old laptop as well, or will that interfere?
No, you can have it on as many devices of your own as you want. Just repeat the same process there.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question on the download. I downloaded it last night just from Callarama.com, I guess it was. That wasn't the one that he was talking about, the 3-month trial?
No.
No, since you downloaded it directly, you need to send me the code that shows there, and then I give you the 3 months.
Oh, where would the code be on Colorama?
The top bar where it says info.
Top bar info. Yes, I see that. Oh, I see. Okay, so you want me to send you that?
You email this to support@callarama.com and I give you the key.
Okay, so email it to, what's the email address? I'm not seeing anything.
Should be noted there.
It says, it just says last used today or yesterday by Holly. Free Callarama, limited function, callarama.com, purchase.html, and then it gives you the activation code. So there's an activation, it says enter activation key here.
Okay. Then go to the website Callarama and there is, you know,
Right.
Contact. Go to the website on the right side. There's a tab, contact, and you can enter your message there.
Okay. Contact.
And then next time you open up, he'll send you a code by email.
Oh,
Just
okay.
Put it into the activation code.
Okay, so it's not the code that's on this right here.
No, that's what I need to give you the key.
Okay, so you need that code. So I should say.
So the key pertains to the computer that is installed.
Oh, okay. All righty.
Just one of the many safety features.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mel.
Yes, Mark.
When I click on that link for that you put in there for Callarama, the Friends of Mel, comes up 404 error not found.
I just know. Okay, let me double check that.
You may have mistyped it.
Mel, I got a question. I meant to say, on my bottom of the screen, excuse me, I have a problem with my voices. On the record, I have a circle. That's why I sent you the email. It used to have a square and it said record, and to the left of that, it said to mute, or not mute, but unrecord or something. It was like a box, a square. You could record and
at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah.
You should have mute, stop video, security, participants, chat, share screen, and then a button that says record.
Yes.
Okay, it should be a little round button.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, when you click that, if either Mark or I have selected allow record, it should turn red.
Right, it does.
Sorry, I should say it should put up a window that says record on this computer or record in the cloud.
Yes, it's recording here, and it has next to the left of it as a yellow, is the green shield with a check mark on it.
That's correct, up in the top left-hand corner.
Top left-hand corner, yeah.
Yeah. So when that's red or red flashing, it means that somebody's recording. Okay, but for you to record, you click the button at the bottom.
Yeah.
It says record, and then you tell it where you want to record, either on your computer or to the cloud. Be aware, though, that if you are recording to the cloud, some people have limitations on how much they can record. And the reason is a recorded session is something like 360, or if it goes a few hours in length, it can be anywhere up to 500 megabytes in size.
Or larger.
Or larger. So that's why Mark has chosen to record all the sessions, and he puts them on the OC Caller's website. He also makes them available on YouTube so that you can download them accordingly. Okay, for those of you trying to find that site, it's because I put brackets around it, and that last bracket is the thing is reading like an HTML file. It will not find it with that last bracket. Just copy what is covered, or what is between the brackets, http://callarama.com friends %20 of mil HTML. Just copy that without the brackets and paste it into the browser address. It'll pull up the page. Or let me take the brackets off. Or you can try that without the brackets. And that should that should work now. Now on that page, that's a 3-month trial. The presentation slides from Reinhold's presentation are there. You've got the support if you've already got it installed, which is what Reinhold and Holly were talking about. There's the instructions, the security issues to walk you through the problems that you may have with if you've got Norton or Windows Defender. And there's also all the other resources and everything else on the tabs available for you.
I just sent, Reinhold, I just sent an email off of the website on the support part.
Okay, you will get a response.
Thank you.
I don't think I can get it on my old laptop. When I download it through your email, Mel, it downloads, and as soon as it pops up, it goes away. Like
What operating system do you have?
I have no idea on this one.
Just you can just take Jolanda. You can just copy the folder. You don't have to install it because it's based on Gardner, help me on it's Visual Basic Net. It's based on the .NET framework. It doesn't install any libraries. You just take the Callarama 2 folder on your hard drive where it exists and copy it to the other laptop on the hard drive on C.
I'll get somebody to help me with it.
Yeah.
Essentially,
you can
on your
just copy it to any place. It will then ask for a new
manager
activation key because it's on a different computer. But you don't need to install it really. You can just copy the folder.
You know how you copy a file onto a flash drive, Yolanda?
Yeah.
You know how to do that, right? You put it in the side of the computer and copy.
Yeah.
Okay, same thing. You just find the folder, Callarama 2, copy the entire folder onto a flash drive, plug it into your old computer, and you can install it right from there.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't need an install. It will work right from there.
Or you can run it right from the flash drive. It
will be ready to use.
Just have to create a shortcut.
Yes, Mel.
This computer's only a month old. It's a Windows 10. I had a Windows 7 before, and it was starting to crash on me when we were having classes. So I ended up using my cell phone. But anyway, I had bought this one and they transferred everything over. And I'm still trying to get the music and everything organized into the right things because when they transferred it, nothing's in the sequence like it was when it was on the old one. I got to move everything from the data part into other areas. So I'm still learning this computer.
That actually raises a good point. 1 second, Malcolm, you'll be next.
Okay, that's right.
Your music folders, your Square View, your Callarama, all of these programs, make a backup on a separate drive outside of your computer. Like I've got now a 4 terabyte and 2 1 terabyte drives hooked into my computer. Make a copy of it so that if something does happen, you have your music folders, your program Square View, your program Callarama, all that important data backed up somewhere that if something does happen or you do have to buy a new computer, you can instantly just transfer everything across the way it was. Always, always, always a good idea. Malcolm, you had your hand up.
Yeah, it's just a question for Reinhold. Reinhold, on the hosting session you just did, the crams box actually filled in with, as you say, whether they're in sequence or not. I've never had that box filled in before, and there's nothing in it now. How did you actually get it to fill in that little box next to the crams? You're muted. You're muted, Reinhold. You're muted. You're muted, Reinhold. You're
He's
muted.
showing you on. He's showing you on the screen.
Yeah, I know, but I can't hit. Yeah.
Yeah. See how he's circling the crams box?
Yes.
Okay. To activate it, hit the download key, or sorry, the down arrow.
Yes.
So if he puts them into a file, see how it says 1A and it's turned green?
Right. So you've actually got to set up the actual sequence. You can't do it from if you're going through a sequence and you've got a whole list of items in your little menu there. It doesn't tell you then. You've actually got to set it up.
Okay. So what you're saying is, if you type the sequence heads square through 4, swing through, boys run, couple circulate.
Yes.
And you wanted to know what the crams was, how do you get it to show that? Is that
That's
correct?
right, yes.
Okay.
Correct. Correct.
So Reinhold, can you put a quick sequence in there? Just go to a static square.
Reinhold, you're still muted.
Unmute your computer, Reinhold. Reinhold, you have to unmute.
Unmute.
There you go.
What do you want me to do?
Okay, heads square through.
It's the next call.
Swing through, sorry.
Don't let them stop.
Boys run. Couple circulate. Okay, and you notice on the top, yeah, do a couple circulate.
Oh,
No, you did hit 1.5.
Okay, you notice the crams block at the top, Malcolm?
It's filled in now. I've never ever had that filled in with at all. It's just always been empty. It's the first time I saw it was when you did the hosting session, but now it's actually filled in.
In older version, it may have been a miss. Sometimes something happens and something gets lost because I make so many changes and I'm not always aware of it. Somebody tells me where's my crams number and then I put it right.
Okay, now if you're not familiar with the abbreviations that is there, Reinhold, can you just hold your cursor over 6B? And you notice it'll come left with partner, right with opposite, boys out of sequence. It'll tell you where the dancers are. So it says there that the girls are in sequence, the boys are out of sequence. Left-hand side is with partner. The right-hand side is with the opposite, or heads with opposite side. So it'll tell you not only the abbreviation, but it'll tell you exactly where the dancers are, just to put that in your head. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, it's appeared there, but after you've done the head square through, for example, just go back to that first head square through. It's gone. It's not there.
Yeah, there is no clear definition. Crams for a box. I tried to find it. I could not find it because there's an ambiguity. Who is with whom?
Okay.
In my view, if we could agree that number 1 boy is with corner, then I could put in a definition, but it could also be seen as number one boy is with opposite because they are a pair, an actual pair here. So I'm not sure. I tried to get the information actually, but I couldn't get it. If somebody can give me reliable information, I will put in the numbers.
Part of this is do not think of a crams definition as a Fazar definition from Callarama. This is a corner box. Okay.
In crams, it's a corner box.
In crams, it has a different kind of explanation, and it's trying to find all of those things. A Fazar from that swing through boys run couple circulate is a two-faced line, and it has a definition of where people are.
Right,
Crams has
okay.
a different explanation. So don't try and equate Fazar to crams.
Right, okay,
Well,
that's what I was.
Crams is a moving system of how to manipulate dancers. Fazar is a statement of where they are in a fixed point relative to each other in a square. Fazar is so callers can understand. If I say a box 1-4 or a corner box, you understand where the dancers are. A Fazar says this is where the dancers are, and I can move them and manipulate them around by doing A, B, C, D, E. That's the difference between the two.
Okay, Mel?
Yes.
If he calls pass-through trade by, does something show up under the crams?
I can't honestly answer that. He'll have to go through it because I don't actually define by crams sort out where they are at any time. I look at where the dancers are and follow them in my head that way.
Now does it show it? No.
No, I don't have a definition for it.
It doesn't recognize an 8-chain 4 box, regardless of the formation, because there's too many parameters it could be.
It's Jerry's favorite thing, the right-hand lady box. I'm surprised he doesn't define it.
Yes, but it's a right-hand lady box, but just step to a wave if you can, Reinhold. That's still recognized as facing couples or a box. You'll notice that does not have a crams definition either.
Right.
Okay, because it recognizes the wave has a lot of potentials based on what the next call is. If I do a single hinge, or if I do a pass through, if I do a right and left through, there's so many variations in that partner corner relationship that we're manipulating can be so many different things in crams. So you have to be aware of what the purpose of crams is a resolution and manipulation system as opposed to a statement of where the dancers are in stop motion. And that's a Fazar as opposed to a crams. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it is. It helps a lot. I was coming from the angle as it's a quick way to work out if they're in sequence or not. But there's more to it than whether they're in sequence. Yes.
Yeah. What is good about it is where you have cram states, and you click on it, you can work backwards. You can say, how do I get into that state? And if you recognize the state, you can easily, Bob Elling gave a session a while ago of transitions, what you can do to get from a partner box to a partner line to a corner box to whatever. If you can recognize the transition states for crams, who's with partner, who's in sequence, who's out of sequence, you can easily build get outs from that and lead ins to that state, which will take you as part of the crams manipulation system. And despite what everybody says, the cram system is also a system of modules. It takes you to a state. You got a lot of modules to get out, the same as mental imaging, the same as any kind of site calling. It's a lot, or not mental image, it's a lot of modules. It's just getting there is half the fun.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. That's helpful anyway. Thanks, Reinhold, Mel.
Hello.
Yes.
I just wanted to point something out because it's I noticed it brought up a couple times about the updates. Just wanted to point out that it's Callarama. He does it a little bit different than what we're normal. Square View that we use for calling. They'll have version 10.2.3. And when they get a new one, you go to their website. It's a higher number than what you got. Well, Callarama, somebody mentioned earlier that they just updated like a week or so ago. Well, I believe Reinhold's updated put out about probably 2 or 3, I'm not sure, 2 or 3 updates in the last week. So just when it comes up and you have it where it checks that you're going to have that tells you that you have an update and you go to that web page, you have to look at that date that he has up there on it. If that date's newer than when you last installed the update, there's a newer update because it still just says Callarama 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's all I got.
I like the version I have because when I just open it, if there's no new update, it just opens. If there is a new update, it tells me.
Is that because it's on auto?
Could well be.
Okay.
See where it says check update?
Yeah.
Tick
I'm
that box.
gonna check that on my.
It will look in the data. Yeah, I'll take it. It's on the screen where it says data. It'll automatically check to see if you have an update.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have any more questions? Okay. For those of you that are members of Caller Lab, the vote is now being called for on the add or drops in the basic and mainstream list. So please fill out the survey, fill out all the questions in the survey if you're part of those committees. Have your voice. We do have in the next session, is it the next session? Hang on a second, let me just check my own schedule to make sure I'm right. Next week, we've got Tony Oxendine coming in to do a session on adapting singing calls. So a lot of people are looking forward to that. I've got to close down about 3 dozen screens. And then the following week, which is the 28th of February, we've got representatives from Caller Lab. Teresa Berger and a few others are going to be coming in just to talk about Caller Lab. It's a good place to ask all the questions that you've been asking me about what does the ARC do? How do you get on these committees? How do we get people to listen to us? If I talk to a lot of other callers and I submit in bulk, these are the people that you want to ask these questions of. I have my opinions on how things work. I have my opinions on what's good flow, what's bad flow, or what can and can't be done from different things. That may be different than your opinion. It does not make my opinion right. It does not make your opinion wrong. I have my opinions on the validity of Caller Lab and some of the decisions they make. Doesn't make me right and them wrong. So if you have questions, by all means, ask. These are the people you want to ask the questions to. As we said a few sessions ago, we did a quick count. It's not factual, it's not detailed, and it's accurate, but the estimate is if every caller outside of the US joined Caller Lab, there would be more callers from outside the US than were inside the US, and that would scare a lot of people. Because suddenly the power of the decision is there. It's not just a bunch of old boys that have been calling for 50 years that everybody knows their name that makes all the decisions, even though it feels like that sometimes. That's the session you want to tune into. If you're not a member of Caller Lab, tune in anyway. There's nothing saying you have to be a member of Caller Lab. The US has a number of organizations, as does Europe, as does a lot of other places. We do, as I said, we've got Tony Oxendine coming up next week. After that is Ken Ratuzzi on teaching the unteachable. Betsy Gotta is coming up. The only day I do not have a session planned at the moment is the 21st of March, and that's because my daughter is getting married and my wife has threatened me with all sorts of physical abuse if I have a Zoom session rather than go to my daughter's wedding. I think it's a fair call. After that, Barry Wanson. Barry Wanson will be with us on the 28th of March to talk about notes services. Barry, are you still with us? Raise your hand if you're there. So yeah,
I'm still here.
Okay, Barry puts out, and he's the chief editor, cook, bottle washer, writer, and archivist for Behind the Mic magazine, which has become very, very popular. There are a lot of callers associations that wait for it to come out to host their callers meetings because they use what's in it as their discussion points or their agenda. It's a very good resource, a lot of good information, a lot of archived information, and a lot of new ideas. It's a free magazine that he puts out on his own back with his own time. Behind the Mic will be coming out for February next week, I believe, this coming week, and it will be out. It is a monthly magazine. Sometimes we do it every couple of months, depending on what's going on. But Barry's going to come and talk to us about note services in general. There are a lot of note services, the value of note services, whether they're a good thing, a bad thing, how to use them properly, that kind of stuff. Mike Sikorsky will be with us with a follow-up on the difference between site calling and site resolution. They are not the same thing. And then Kip Garvey is going to be back, and that's really as far as we've got scheduled. So that's till the 18th of April. So by all means, tune in. We'll continue to post out the emails, post out on Facebook. And the session is now open to discuss anything you want to discuss.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that we've got John down there. If he's still here, I think he's just.
We've got a couple of Johns. John Anthony?
Yeah, there's a new John. John. I think he's just left. I'm just saying, welcome to the world of insanity.
There, I'm back.
Yes,
Sorry.
yay.
There I am. Hey.
John, how long have you been calling?
I'm just learning within the last year, but I've been dancing on and off for over 30 some years.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know whether you know the main rules for learning to call. First of all, you have to have, quite a bit of music, and you have to practice the music. And you also need a bag of marbles. What you do, you put the marbles in your mouth. Every time you practice, you spit out a marble. And of course, as soon as you've lost all your marbles, well,
that's funny, Barry.
Yeah. And just to let you know, John, there is a dress code for new callers. You do have to go out and buy one of those heavy Western shirts with the extra long sleeves and the buckles on.
Hang on a minute.
You got one of those, Yolanda?
I'm sure I've got one somewhere in my closet, right? What about you, Ross? You're muted though.
Yeah, I think I've got one somewhere in my closet.
Okay.
By the way,
Holly, you've been working with John, have you?
Yes, I have. Yes. Yeah, he's a lot sharper.
Yeah, but does it have the extra long sleeves, John, to tie behind your back?
Actually, I had the sleeves shortened.
Hey, I just got one of those for Christmas. I requested it because I love wearing Western shirts.
Actually, I have more than one Western shirt, actually.
It used to be that you
As Barry
also.
said about losing your marbles to be a caller, the straitjacket is actually the pseudonym for trying to find your corner in a resolution or trying to get out, because sometimes that's what it feels like.
Now the other thing is that it used to be part of the uniform that you also had to have pants, not blue jeans, but some kind of dress pants. But now the dances are done on Zoom, so you don't need any pants at all. Just be careful with the camera.
Yeah. Underwear optional.
have a green background.
Bob, in answer to your question, certainly.
Okay.
We have done this a number of times, but it's always good to come back. We call it with a focus or with a purpose, but absolutely. You want to do it?
Yes.
All right. We'll have to get together to confirm a date, but it's, like I said, it'll be mid-April.
Yes.
Barry, can you check your chat for a sec?
Yeah, I've just seen that you've got a new email address.
Yes. Just specifically for calling.
Yeah, could you do me a favor and just send that to me? That way it'll definitely go through to my computer.
Okay. Do you want to put your email in my chat so that I have it currently?
Okay, I will do that. I'll put it there for everybody.
Done it, Barry.
You've done it already, have you?
Yep.
That's it. Perfect.
Can I get on the email list too? I'll put my email on here.
Yeah. If you wish to subscribe to Behind the Mic and Around the Square, which is a sister magazine for both callers and dancers, but primarily for dancers, just send Barry an email. He'll put you on the list of thousands.
Okay. Yep. I'll put it on right now.
Okay.
Mel?
Yes.
Last week you mentioned something about possibly me having to host one of the meetings. What week was that you were talking about?
I've still got word on my surgery. I've got to have spinal surgery and knee surgery. And right now, WorkCover is actually talking to the neurosurgeons and seeing what they're going to do. So depending on, I could get short notice on that. If it does come up, because I've got these scheduled. So like, for instance, if they send me down to Sydney on the 20th and do the surgery on the 21st, I don't think they'd like me hosting a Zoom session from the operating theater. So, but I would definitely let you know beforehand.
Okay.
Okay.
By the way, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Don't forget your partners.
Yeah.
When's
I haven't forgot my partner. I actually went up to the garage last night and turned the battery chargers on for the lawnmower and the whippersnippers. She could do the lawn this morning.
You are a worry, Mel.
I am so considerate. You know what the sad part is?
I ain't forgetting.
The sad part is that's true. Oh yeah.
And apparently it's the Lunar New Year. Is that the Chinese New Year? Murray told me. So
That was Friday.
No,
Friday, was it?
You're pronouncing that wrong, Ross. It's a loony New Year.
I can't forget my partner for Valentine's Day because that's also our anniversary.
Oh, okay. You would be in trouble.
Yes.
So by the way, for those of you that have been sending me the choreography on the load the boat issue, that discussion that was going on in Facebook and whatnot, we pretty much closed that off. And I'll let you know, I have sent the comments and questions. You all know my opinion on the validity of it. I've actually sent that to the applications review committee, and it should be interesting to see what they come up with.
Thank you, Mel, for a good class. And thank you, Roedig, Reinhold, for a lot of information there. Be in touch with you.
Thank you.
You've given a lot for us to practice on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. It was a pleasure. I'm very grateful to you taking the time. And any questions, any problems, just let me know. I will help you. Good night.
And Reinhold's email address is on the Callarama website. So just go there, support.com. That'll go directly to him.
Happy Valentine's, everybody. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
Okay, thank you, Mel. I'm off. Thank you, everyone. See ya.
Bye now.
Bye, Ross. Enjoy the rest of Valentine's.
Okay. You too.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you later, Barry.
See you guys. Take care.
I'll get back to doing the newsletter. Catcha. Great job, Reinhold. Great
Barry.
job.
Barry, don't go.
Him and Chico.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you got? I sent Mel and you some. Do you have patter music to do another patter record? Either one of you.
I can do it.
Sorry, go ahead, Barry.
I can do anything you like. Anything you like.
No, I mean, have I already sent you music you can use? Mel?
Yeah, only those two that I sent to you last week.
Yeah, I need a new patter. A patter. You sent me a patter new singer. I need a patter.
No, I sent two patters.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Oh, I got to go back and check again.
Yeah.
I only did the one which was Are You Ready, I think.
Yeah, well, I need one for next month.
I did Are You Ready and Fire Creek.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine are done to actually live dances, so you know they work.
Barry, Fire Creek don't count because that's going to be in a package.
Okay.
I need one that I can release concurrently.
Yeah, well,
just as a note, I would prefer, like I said, the singing calls are not so bad, but doing patter, the recording I did about Are You Ready, as Barry pointed out, it does time out, but it is choppy in a couple of places because I'm not calling in front of live dancers. Recording patter is always a lot better calling in front of live dancers because you can actually.
Not a problem. It's really not a problem. Okay. Your timing's close enough. People are going to, in your case, Mel, you have it all written out so they can call it. Barry doesn't write it out. That's a little tougher. But I just want to hear, I want the callers to hear somebody using the pattern. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm working on a couple more. I have some very special patterns that won't be out in my normal releases. They'll come out in the packages because they cost me a great deal more to produce. And they're nothing short of what I think is awesome, period.
Well, have you put anything new in there from the last time?
No.
Okay. And Barry, were you looking at the Hank Williams medley by any chance?
No.
No? Okay.
So far I've done, I did the two patters, Are You Ready? And the other one that Bob sent out. And I think I did the singing called If I Said You Had a Beautiful Body, because I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't often say this to callers, but I try and encourage people to stand in a mirror to watch their performance. Barry, that's one song you should not stand in the front of a mirror to perform. So you should have Johnny Boy, I Saw the Light, If I Give My Heart to You.
Yeah, I've got those.
I've
got a little folder, Mel, that I set aside. So each month I'll add one of those to my release list.
Okay, and yeah, if you just want to send if you're doing Fire Creek, what have I've got? Yeah, there's a couple more in here I'll have a look at.
Okay.
By the way, Mel, great
Yes,
job.
Mark.
Great job on that. I think it was I'll Give My Heart to You.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I Give My Heart to You, great job. Voice sounded
Yes.
really, really good.
Yes, I liked it. Yes.
Bob, remind me, what's your label?
Did somebody
Riverboat?
Oh, it is. Okay.
Riverboat and everything that absorbed it.
Uh-huh.
When I do my next package, I like every song I do. You know, that's just goes for it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it. But in my next package, I have a special song that I'll think will be my best seller for the whole year. It's like when I did the patter to Beethoven's Ninth. That's already up to number 4 for the year. It was number 1 for a while for the month, and then it got passed by a singing call. But for the year, it's like number 4 or 3 for the whole year, and it's going to go to number 1 for the year. I'm very confident of that.
Well, I'm all excited to hear this. If I Give My Heart, because I like that song.
It's beautiful.
Got to hear your version of it.
Okay. Well, it's selling. Oh, that might be what's number 1 for the month, by the way. I should have checked that.
Would you handle it with care? That's the song. It's a beautiful song. Beautiful
Yes,
melody.
very nice.
Let me check.
There you go, Chris. I put the link in the chat.
Oh, I was just looking for that, actually. So does anybody have any more questions, comments, queries, points? Have a look at Riverboat Records. Have a look at all of the others. We do have Riverboat now in the back of BTM, as well as a number of other caller resources that you can get. I strongly encourage callers to support music producers that produce square dance music. It's not like the old days where you'd press a record and every caller, including every dancer, would go out and buy, and you'd sell 1,000 records at every square dance convention. That doesn't happen much anymore, and these producers put a lot of work and a lot of effort. Bob is not only producing music, but he's also recovering a lot of the older music that was on record and re-releasing it, cleaning it up, putting out nicer versions, editing a little bit so you've got nice clean sound with a good healthy beat to it that really, really works, so that a lot of this archival stuff doesn't get lost. So support your music producers. This is how we keep alive, and we're going to need them to keep our activity alive.
Yeah, and I'll mention a little self-aggrandizing thing here right now. I've kept producing music all through the pandemic. The other labels, because it's not selling, are not releasing stuff. I am. Maybe it's not a smart idea, but I'm going to keep going because I love music. I love finding new songs, and I love putting them out, which means that if anybody has an idea for a song drop me an email. Can't promise I'll do it, but if it's really hot, I just might. Thank you. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark. I didn't do nothing.
You smiled, Mark. You
Oh,
smiled.
I'm always smiling.
I can see Holly's brain going around in the background saying, what song do I want to record with Bob?
Oh, I know what I was smiling about. Most of the music I like would never fit for square dancing.
I've already been asked by a different label, so I won't say anything.
Nothing wrong with recording on more than one label.
I'm just a big chicken right now. I'm not sure.
Well, for example, on my label, Tony Oxidine records, Elmer Sheffield records, Jack O'Leary of Silver Sounds records.
Mel.
Jerry Story used to record.
I appreciate the sentiment, Yolanda, but as much as I hate to admit it, I'm not quite at the status of Tony Oxendine and Jerry
I know that. I didn't say that.
But
I
I
said
do
just
appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah, it's somebody that they would know, right?
Yeah.
See, if you want to see my recording studio, this is my recording studio.
Yeah, Mel, I got mixed up. Yours is number 9 for this month.
Well, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, it is. You got on the list.
And Mel, I got to disagree with you. I know all those callers that you were talking about, and I know all their voices, and your voice is right up there with them. Better than some of them.
Yep, on the right song, it's perfect.
Yeah, like I said, I have the typical caller version of, or should I say the typical caller aversion to hearing your own voice. It's never what you think it sounds like when you hear it recorded.
Yeah.
I've recorded myself a bunch, and I didn't like any one of them.
This is my recording studio. This is my Zoom room. This is my office. This is the rear bedroom of the house. So unfortunately, I don't get a chance to go down and record with Barry down in Wollongong, which is how I was doing recording before. And it was nice because he's got all the stuff and he can do it down in his basement and do it with live dancers. And it's a much more interactive and an intimate feel that comes out across the microphone. But with Bob's help, we've managed to make a few recordings, and they're starting to sound a little bit better as I learn to use Audacity and a few other things a little bit better, but it's coming.
Mel?
Yes.
Be sure to let Barry know which of the other patterns are available to do right now, because he's able to call them in front of live dancers.
Yep.
And he can do one too.
Just a second here. Let me just double check.
Find some more for you.
Hang on. Bob Elling. So what do we got? We got actually, those are the only two. Yeah, Fire Creek. Are you ready?
Okay, then I'll have to find a few more, which I have plenty. Don't worry.
Yeah, please do, because those are the only two patterns I've got at the moment.
If I get some time next week, or in the week, or in the next couple of weeks, I'll be doing 15 more. So I'll send them off to you.
Send them down.
That's all I do, Holly, is make music. I coach newer callers who want help too. I got openings for 2 more. I do it one-on-one coaching with Zoom.
With Zoom?
Yeah, and anybody interested, I have 2 spaces open.
Yeah, one of the things that's going on, Bob mentioned that put the choreography down even on the patterns. One of the things that Bob does is Bob recognizes, and he's mentioned that he's got a lot of people in places like Japan and places like that buy the music and buy the recorded. Part of that reason is there's a lot of places right now that don't have a caller available to them, but they still call. And they look for material that they can dance to that is not the same figure on the next 20 releases. The material that's there, it's written out so that they can actually explain it, they can do it, they can learn the dances. So if you are going to call, If you remember that session we did on Square View on programming your sheets, your different levels, whatnot, provide that information to Bob that goes with the